Okay students, so today we are going to start and talk about the very first chapter for biology topic of science, that is microorganisms. Specifically talking about microorganisms, these are tiny organisms but play a very important role into this complete living world. You and I, plants, animals, the animals living inside water bodies like oceans, seas, river, ponds, lakes, etc. All of us, birds, etc. are some or the other way affected or even dependent. Yeah, mark my words, it is dependent on these microorganisms. They play a very big and a very important role in conduction of the living world and the living cycles in various forms. And of course, if anything, it has a positive side, has a negative side too. So today we're going to start with this particular topic. Before getting into the contents, we will try to understand what the term itself speaks about. So as we can see, the microorganism word can be bifurcated or it can be split apart into two words. First is micro and the second is organisms. ठीक है? Micro word हम सब ने सुना है. Micro means specifically here it is microscopic. मतलब anything which you can view through a microscope. I hope you guys have seen a microscope in your schools, labs, various labs, you have it. And even the pictures provided in your books. So, and organisms means anything which is living and has a different system into its body. Like we are also organisms, okay? We have a complex mechanism, we have a digestive system, we have a respiratory system, we have a circulatory system, but we are not microscopic organisms or microorganisms. Why? Because I can see you and you can see me with the naked eyes. You do not require a microscope to visualize me. But in order to visualize microorganism, you require a microscope. Hence, microorganisms are those living beings which can be only viewed. Mark this term, only. This can be only viewed using a microscope. Hence the term microorganisms. So this talks about the definition of microorganisms. Now we are going to talk about the groups into which it is classified, into which it is categorized. Commonly, it is categorized into 4 groups. So we have 4 groups of microorganisms, namely bacteria, fungi, protozoa and algae. So we have 4 groups, broad groups of microorganisms. Again, it is bacteria, fungi, protozoa and algae. Very interestingly, virus. We all are aware of this organism too, but the question arises, why haven't I have categorized this virus into this group of microorganisms? They are found inside our body, they are present around us, we all know about multiple viruses, we have heard about multiple viruses. Then what is the issue? What is the problem? Why virus is not categorized under the grouping of microorganisms? because even the microorganism definition states that all those organisms which can be seen through microscope only should be categorized under this. And viruses, of course, can only be seen through microscopes. Still, viruses do not fall under the category of microscopic organisms because of the word organism. The word organism means living beings. Again, the word organism means living beings. And virus is not a living being. Virus is not a living thing. Rather, it is a transition between a living and a non-living thing. I can explain you this using a small example. Virus, when it is present inside a droplet, like when we sneeze or cough out, few droplet comes out from our nose or from our throat and are spread across. Or viruses are also, few viruses are found in air also, few viruses are seen inside water bodies, you know? But these viruses, when they are present in such states, they completely act as a non-living thing. How do they act? Like a non-living thing. This virus. But when this virus enters a living body, when this virus enters a living body, now what can be these living bodies like human beings, like plants, like animals, birds, insects, even bacteria. Virus can also get inside few bacteria. So when virus gets in of any living body, it starts its living process. Matlab, it starts acting as a living being. Hence, explaining this in very short way, virus, when exists freely in the environment, it acts as a non-living. But that same virus, when enters a host body, host is that living thing. When this virus enters a host body, this virus starts to act like a living being. Hence, virus is neither categorized under a living thing nor categorized under a non-living thing. It is a transition between both, and this is the reason why virus is not categorized under microscopic organisms, because it is not a living organism. So, as I've told you, viruses, they are the transition between living and non-living. Viruses are microscopic. Yes, they are microscopic. They can only be seen through a microscope. But when virus enters a host body, that is a living cell, being it a single-celled organism or a multi-celled organism, that could be a bacteria, a single-celled organism, plant, multi-celled organism, or even animals, multi-cell organisms, they start showing their living characteristics. Who? Virus. So this was something in very short about these organisms. In this particular chapter, we are going to take all these things in much deeper way, in more detail. So proceeding with the topic, the next topic we'll just discuss in short about the diseases what these microscopic organisms cause. So few diseases I have already listed for you, like protozoa. It is again a unicellular organism. This may cause disease like dysentery or malaria. Very quickly, just talking about what is dysentery. Dysentery is an infection of your intestine which leads to loose motion, dehydration, even when the stool passes on. It comes out with blood and mucus from your intestine. So that is dysentery. You can call a severe form of diarrhea dysentery. Okay? Next is malaria. We are quite familiar with this term malaria. This malaria is caused by a mosquito, which is female Anopheles mosquito. We will discuss about it in detail in the coming topics. So this malaria is caused by female Anopheles mosquito, and that mosquito causes the carries the protozoa for malaria. So when that mosquito bites you, that protozoa gets inside your body. Okay? When that mosquito bites you, that protozoa gets inside your body and we fall ill. So these two are the diseases and many other, but at least you have to remember two for your exams. So these diseases protozoa is capable of causing. Next, talking about bacteria. Bacteria can cause typhoid, it can cause tuberculosis, which is TB in short. Next, fungi. It causes a disease which is known as candidiasis. The disease is named as candidiasis, or few fungal eye infections. You have a lot of fungal infections, okay, which is caused by various types of fungi. Again, the names of bacteria or protozoas or fungi in detail is not in your syllabus. So we are not taking those names in precise way. We have to just speak in general for your exams. Next, talking about viruses. So viruses are again the most deadliest, and they cause the most fatal diseases, or mostly are incurable, like polio. Okay, polio, mark my words, polio is still incurable. Polio cannot be cured. We have controlled polio using a polio vaccine. So virus causes polio, which damages the nervous system of the individual, which further deteriorates or degrades the skeletal system, musculoskeletal system of the individual. Viruses also cause chickenpox. Poxes, we guys are quite aware of it. And fortunately, we have the vaccines for a lot of viral diseases like polio and chickenpox. We already have vaccines. So the thing is, among the microorganisms, the groups which we are talking about, these four are comparatively manageable by certain medicines. Their effect is not that fatal or not that deadly, but the deadliest is this virus. Reason is clear, because its nature keeps on changing. That is, when it exists freely, it shows no response, and as soon as virus enters the host body, it starts its reproductive function, digestive function, etc. And hence it causes such hazardous diseases. So this was in short about few diseases caused by these microscopic organisms. I hope you guys are okay with it. Next important topic of the chapter is, where do these microorganisms live? Microbes can be a short form for microorganism. So next we are going to talk about that where are these microorganisms or microbes found. Before checking into where are these found, let us talk about their body structure or their body design. These microorganisms can be categorized as per their number of cells. That is, microorganisms can be a single-celled organism or it can be a group of cells. That is multicellular organism. So, as the first point states, microscopic organisms can be a single-celled. Few examples are like bacteria, protozoa, and few algae. Not all, but few. So these are the example of single-celled microorganisms. Next, multicellular organisms. Multicellular means having more than one cell. Like you and I, we are a multicellular organism. The plants in your garden, they are multicellular organisms. The insects which are there, they're multicellular organisms. But here we are only talking about multicellular microscopic organisms. So we don't fall under this category. Okay? We're talking about multicellular microorganisms, and multicellular microorganisms have only two groups, that is algae and fungi. So there are lots of fungi which have more than one cells and have different body functions. Similarly, there are different types of algae which have more than one cell, group of cells they have, and they have different body functions. Very briefly, what is the benefit, advantage, disadvantage of having a single cell or having a multiple cell? Again, if we just quickly take our mind off from the topic of microorganism and just want to discuss about single cell and multi-celled organisms. So a single cell, one cell, and having a group of cell. Okay, this is a single cell and this is a multiple cell group of cells. This one cell which is living, this cell has to perform each and every living task. That is, this has to perform the function of digestion also, this has to perform the function of respiration also, this has to perform the function of circulation also, this one cell has to perform the function of reproduction also, etc. The single cell is burdenized with different tasks. Whereas when you have more than one cells, different cells are given different tasks. Like this cell can perform the task of digestion, this cell can perform the task of respiration, this cell can perform the task of reproduction, this cell can perform the task of circulation, and so on. So the idea is that when different cells are given different tasks to perform, they perform those tasks very efficiently. They perform those tasks very, very efficiently. Got it? Let's understand this by taking a small example. You people have been given a project in your class, in your school. In your class, you fall under a group of 10 students. Okay? To do a particular project, let's say on Smart Jabalpur. So 10 of you are working on one project which is Smart Jabalpur. You have to prepare a thermocol model and give a presentation, a lecture over it. Okay? The same task, the same project over Smart Jabalpur is being allotted to one of the student of your class also. That is, that particular one student has to perform all the tasks of forming a thermocol model, of getting the contents from the net, explaining things, collecting different information from here and there, and all the various tasks. So logically, now you get it, that when you have a group of people, 10 groups, 10 people, and 10 people can be divided among different categories. That is, one person would be looking into the net itself for the content. Another one would be collecting money for all the expenditure. The third one can work on forming of the model itself. The fourth one can prepare the presentation, what they have to speak about the model, and so on. So the work would be done more efficiently, more powerfully. The output would be very good. But when that one student has to do all the tasks, generally, again there are exceptions, but generally the efficiency goes down because that one student would be puzzled among different things. Yeah? This is the simple difference between a single-celled and a multicellular organism. And that difference is about efficiency. Whatever task these cells are meant to do, they will do it with more efficiency. Who? Multicellular. And single cell, the efficiency would decrease. Now coming back to the topic of microscopic organisms, which are single-celled and multi-celled, whatever they are doing, being it causing a disease or helping the nature in different form, this is their task. Let's say we have a very helpful bacteria which is performing the task of decomposition, and another bacteria is there which is performing the task of making its host ill. Remember host, the living cell, the living organism? So what do you think? This bacteria, because it is a single-celled bacteria, so that single cell won't be that efficient in performing that particular task for what it is meant to be. Whereas other organisms like algae, like fungi, because they are multicellular, because they are present in cluster form, they will perform their task, whatever it is again. Being a destructive site or being on a constructive site, they will perform their task very efficiently. Why? Because they have multiple cells in their body, and those multiple cells will actually help them out in carrying out whatever function they will perform. Okay? This was a small introduction about the cells. Again, for your syllabus, you have chapter cell 2, so you can correlate this with it. Next, we were actually talking about where are microorganisms found, where do they actually live. So now when we have seen that the microorganisms can be a single-celled organism or the microorganism can be a multicellular organism. Now we are talking about the environment in which these microorganisms are found. These microorganisms could be seen in various types of environment, in different type of climate, different type of weather, whatever it is. They are so well adapted. That is, you can find these bacteria, fungi, etc. in ice-cold climate too. Okay? Or these are also found in hot springs. Hot springs, like in Hindi we call it a kund. Okay? You might have heard about, like when you visit different spiritual places and there are hot water springs where the people, they take bath and they have their own beliefs. So, wo jo kund hai, in that hot water spring, in that kund, the water is hot not because of any magic, but that water is hot because of certain types of bacteria which are found in that specific water. So the hot spring, that particular water is actually hot because of the presence of specific acidophilic bacteria which releases acid, and this acid released by those bacteria makes the water boiling. I don't know if you guys have visited any of these hot springs. We have multiple different types of these hot springs throughout the country. So you may visit as and when you find an opportunity and experience it yourself. The water reaches the temperature of boiling point. It is that hot. You can cook rice in it. So these hot springs are hot because of bacteria. The point is, the microbes are even present in such high temperature and even in low temperature. Next, in deserts. Yes, in deserts also microorganisms survive. There are different types of fungi, there are different types of bacteria, viruses, etc. found in the deserts, performing the different tasks. And even in marshy lands, जिसको हिंदी में दलदल कहते हैं. Yeah? So, a piece of land which is completely waterlogged. The point is, marshy land या दलदल is a place where the soil is saturated with water. Soil में water का content is very high. That is the marshy land. So, marshy lands, they even have microorganisms. Okay? So, these are the few places, or being more precise, these are the environment, different environment. You can see hardly any type of climate or weather is left. It is found, microorganisms are found everywhere, being it ice cold climate or hot spring or desert or marshy lands, etc. Next, these microorganisms are also found in bodies of humans. Yes, humans. You'll be surprised to know we have different bacteria in our gut, specifically in our intestine, in our stomach, which helps in various phases of digestion. And without those bacteria, the complete efficient process of digestion is not possible. Fortunately or unfortunately, there are certain bacteria or certain other organisms like protozoa, etc. They might enter our body even to harm us. So they can also survive in our body. The point is, these microorganisms are found in the bodies of humans also, performing both the task, that is, few are helpful and few are harmful. Next, talking about their dependency, we are talking about the dependency of microscopic organisms. That what are these microorganisms are dependent on? These microorganisms, they depend, few of them, they depend on host. Host, remember, just now we've talked about host, like virus is dependent on host. Yes, virus is dependent on host for what? For carrying out its living processes. Yes. So, simple words, if we wish to define host. So, what is a host? Host is any living body which serves to these microorganisms. Okay? That is the host. So, there are few microorganisms which are dependent on host. Means, without a specific other living body, these microorganisms cannot survive. Not all, but few. Like virus, of course. There are few fungi also which requires a host. Even there are few bacteria which can only survive inside host. And there are some who can exist freely. That is, they do not require a host body to carry out its life processes. Okay? So, some exist freely. The most appropriate example would be an algae. They generally do not require a host. They can exist freely. Next point, talking about living alone, that is few microorganisms, they are capable of living alone. Alone means one microorganism can live on its own. This is the point. So, the microorganism which is capable of living alone, which do not require its friends or its relatives, it is amoeba. It can survive alone. Whereas there are other living organisms which lives in colonies. Colonies means group. Colonies means groups. So there are few microorganisms which lives in colonies, and the examples are fungi and bacteria. None of the fungi, none of the bacteria can live alone. They are always present. They generally grow in a group. That is, multiple fungi together they grow. Multiple bacteria together they grow, they reproduce and carry out their life processes. Okay? The next topic we're going to talk about is microscopic organisms. They are useful and they are at the same time harmful to us. How, when and what. So proceeding with the topic, we are moving to the next topic of the chapter, which is called microscopes can be beneficial or harmful. That is, microbes can be beneficial, that is useful, or microorganisms or microbes can also be harmful. How it can be useful or how they can be harmful to us, this we are going to check in the coming topics. Firstly, talking about few friendly microbes. Friendly microbes, as if few microorganisms, few group of microorganisms or few types of microorganisms are very friendly or are very useful. That is, they help into our day-to-day activities in different form. That is, in carrying out our biological processes, even in our body and outside our body in our environment. Let's check them out. The first benefit we get from them is during the production of substances like curd, we all consume very commonly. Next is bread, cake. These are the bakery products which are manufactured in the bakeries and again widely consumed, and contents like alcohol. These contents, these substances, these food articles are impossible to be produced without the help of microorganisms. How? Taking a small example. Formation of curd, dahi, जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं. This curd can be formed out of milk only in the presence of bacteria, which is lactobacillus. So, this particular curd can only be produced if this lactobacillus bacteria is present in the milk. It will coagulate the milk and the milk will turn into curd. And how does this lactobacillus come into the milk? We generally have milk in our home and all of the milk do not automatically gets converted into curd. When you add a teaspoon of curd into that bowl of milk, which you wish to convert it into a curd, so that teaspoon of curd, what you have added, that teaspoon of curd contains nearly a teaspoon of lactobacillus bacteria. This lactobacillus bacteria is actually converting the milk into curd. So, as you can see, bacteria are not always harmful, they are even good, they are even useful. So, this curd, we can obtain curd only with the help of lactobacillus bacteria. Similarly, the formation of these bakery products, that is bread and cake, these can be obtained only, even alcohol production can be obtained only by a specific process which is known as fermentation. And this fermentation occurs in the presence of certain microorganisms only. Specifically, the act of fermentation is carried out by few bacteria and few fungi. So here we have taken the first point, or we have discussed the first benefit, the first type of benefit what we get from microorganisms. The second benefit, the second type of benefit with the microorganisms are providing us is decomposers. Thus, decomposers is the most important segment or the most important participant of these biological formation on this earth. ये जो decomposers हैं, they play a very vital role in energy circulation. Let's take an example. पहले decomposition क्या होता है इससे पहले let's talk about a bit about how the energy flows into the environment. We all are either vegetarians or non-vegetarians, and even if you are non-vegetarian, you might know that whatever non-veg food you are consuming, those food articles, being it a hen, a goat or a fish, etc., are actually consuming some or the other thing which is obtained from crops, which are obtained from plants. Yes, even fishes, they consume such things. So, precisely talking about the origin of energy. So, generally the energy or the food content or nutrient, whatever you can name it, that is entering our system through soil. We all consume different types of crops, right? So, there are various types of crops, there are various types of grains, there are various types of pulses present all around the globe. They are consumed differently because they provide us different type of nourishment or different type of nutrients. So, we are getting a sort of energy, I can say, from the soil. So, the soil is giving all of these content, all of this nutrition, all of this energy to whom? To you? To me? No. They are giving all of this content to the plants, because only plants have the capacity, has the capability of absorbing these nutritive contents from the soil. Yes? So, plants, they have roots, and the roots are capable of absorbing the contents, the nutrients from the soil. Now, when these contents, these nutrients are absorbed by the plants from the soil, these nutrients enter from soil to plant, and when we consume that plant or parts of that plant means whatever you're consuming, vegetables, fruits, grains, pulses, they're part of plant, right? We get energy, because energy from soil is stored in that part of the plant. Actually, humans are very intelligent. We only consume, we have selected only those things which actually has the maximum store of the nutrients among the complete plant body. Okay? Like we consume potato, which is a modified stem. So we are only consuming that stem, not the leaf of the potato, not the root of the potato. Why? Because that stem of the potato plant has the maximum nutrient. Similarly, we consume carrots, which is a modified root. Why are we consuming only carrot? Why don't we consume the leaves of the carrot? Because that root part of the carrot has the maximum store of nutrients. Okay? And where has those nutrients come from? Those nutrients have come from the soil itself. So, the energy have entered from soil inside the plant. And from plant, the energy is now entering our body when we are consuming that plant. Okay? Our body or animal body, animal also consume plants or parts of plants. Okay? Now let's say when an animal dies, who have consumed lots of plant throughout its lifespan, when that animal dies, there is so much different type of nutrients still there into his body, right? Now don't you think there is a no refuelment into the soil? Soil में nutrient आया कहाँ से? कोई डाल रहा है क्या? आप और हम जाके डाल रहे हैं nutrient soil में? नहीं. There is a system. Actually, when this animal which has consumed so many nutrients from the plant, which has taken so much nutrient from different plants throughout its life, when it dies, all the energy store, all the nutrient store from its body is mixed back to the soil. How? By these decomposers. What these decomposers do? First of all, these decomposers, they are primarily bacteria and a few fungi also. These decomposers are bacteria and fungi which breaks down the complex molecule of those living organisms which is dead or which is left rotten. Okay? So, now you get it, how the soil has got its nutrient content from? So, these decomposers are actually helping soil to get its nutrient content. I hope this is clear. So, simply, decomposers are few microorganisms. Examples are bacteria and fungi. These are primarily decomposers. And what is their task? What does decomposers do? Decomposers performs the task of decomposition. Decomposers perform the task of decomposition. What is decomposition? Decomposition is a simple process of breaking down complex molecules into simple small molecule. Again, I am repeating, decomposition is a simple process by which these decomposers, they break down complex molecule into smaller tiny molecules, and those molecules they again mix back to the soil, and the soil gets back its energy. Yes? And again, when the energy is returned to the soil, again from soil, those energy, those nutrients will be taken up by the plants. The plants will be consumed by the higher consumers, that is the herbivores, the animals. And when those animals will die, their body parts will be mixed back completely to the soil by the decomposers, and soil will get its maximum amount of nutrient. This is how the refuelment of nutrients into the soil is done. And who does it? Decomposers do it. Okay? Next topic, next point about the benefits we are getting from microorganisms. It is these microorganisms, they increase the soil fertility by nitrogen fixation. There are four important terms: soil fertility and nitrogen fixation. These four important words needs to be elaborated well. First of all, talking about soil fertility. What do you mean by the term fertility or fertile? We term a particular area of the soil fertile when that soil is capable of producing plants. Yes, that is when the soil is actually rich in nutrient content, the soil is termed as fertile. So, soil fertility means that particular area, that particular soil is capable of cultivating different types and different amount of plants. Then the soil is termed as fertile. And talking about nitrogen fixation we'll be taking in the coming topic of the chapter. You have this particular topic in much detail. We'll discuss there, but right now, very precisely, nitrogen fixation, it is a process by which free nitrogen in the air, free nitrogen which is there in the air, that is captured by the bacteria which are found inside the soil. Okay? That is nitrogen fixation. So, what is nitrogen fixation? Nitrogen fixation is the simple process by which the bacteria which are present in the soil, they capture the free nitrogen and fix it into the soil. This is nitrogen fixation. The most common bacteria which performs the task of nitrogen fixation is Rhizobium bacteria. Now talking about this complete statement, I hope you are good with the term soil fertility, that is when the soil is capable of cultivating or giving rise to new and different types of plants, that is soil fertility. Or talking about nitrogen fixation, it is a simple process of fixing or capturing the free nitrogen from the air and fixing it up into the soil. This is nitrogen fixation. These microorganisms, remember microorganisms we were talking about. So, microorganisms, they are beneficial as they increase the fertility of the soil by this process of nitrogen fixation. That is, these Rhizobium bacteria, they fix the free nitrogen from the air. You guys know we have an atmosphere, we have an environment which has the maximum quantity of nitrogen, approximately 78%. Yes, so this free nitrogen is very useful. This free nitrogen undergoes various chemical processes inside the soil and inside the plant to get converted into a very important compound which is called proteins. Yes, so it is proteins, formation of proteins, it requires nitrogen. There are a few other chemical compounds also in the living world which requires formation, which requires nitrogen for its formation, like nucleic acids, DNA and RNA. I hope you guys have heard about it, which is there in your cell. So, okay, we'll talk about it in other chapter. Talking about nitrogen fixation. So, by the process of nitrogen fixation, microscopic organisms, specifically the Rhizobium bacteria, it enhances the soil fertility. Means the soil becomes more rich in nutrient content. And when the soil becomes more rich in nutrient content, the soil is now capable of growing different varieties of plants. Again, different varieties of plants, quality-wise as well as quantity-wise. I hope this point is clear. Point C. Next, talking about point D, that is commercial production of wine, acetic acid, which is vinegar. Vinegar, again, we use it in a lot of food products. Okay? So, for the formation or for the production of components like wine, like acetic acid, common name of acetic acid is vinegar. Again, these microscopic organisms are very helpful. How? Yeast. This yeast is a type of a fungi. Yeast is a type of a fungi. Okay? Like rhizobium bacteria. Rhizobium bacteria is a type of a bacteria. Similarly, yeast is a type of a fungi. So, this yeast, when grown on natural sugar, what do you mean by natural sugar? The sugar in packets or in those containers we have in our house is not natural sugar. That is actually processed in factories and then bought to us. Natural sugar means which you get naturally in different food articles, like inside different fruits. Mango, it is sweet in taste. How come it is sweet in taste? We don't add sugar into mango to make it sweet, right? It is naturally sweet because it contains natural sugar, which is in different forms. Okay? There are so many forms of natural sugar: fructose, maltose, galactose, etc. So, when these different natural sugar, the contents specifically which is containing these natural sugar, when they undergo the process of fermentation, primarily by this yeast. This yeast undergoes the process of fermentation to break down these natural sugar. Natural sugar which is found in wheat, okay, in barley, in rice, in lots and lots of fruit juices. So, all these natural sugar are broken down, undergo a specific process of fermentation, and these products are manufactured, are produced. Okay? Talking about fermentation, it is a simple process by which the sugar molecule is broken down into different components like ethanol and a few other compounds like CO2 and all. So, I hope this point is clear. For the commercial production means commercial is when you produce something like our mama bakes a cake at our home. That is not for commercial production, that is for home use, that is for us to eat. But commercial production like done in factories and in bakeries and all, in order to sold it out, in order to gain profit. So, for the commercial production of these things like wine and acetic acid, these yeast, which is a type of fungi, is allowed to grow on substances containing natural sugar. And what are these substances? These substances are wheat, these substances are barley, these can be rice, it can be a fruit juice, anything. And after certain processing, these things are finally produced. So, microscopic organism, they also help us for the commercial production of substances like wine, like acetic acid, etc. Okay. So, I hope we are good till point D. Next, talking about point E, which is the medicinal use. There are so many microorganisms which are processed in different laboratories in order to manufacture medicines. Yes, disease is caused by these microorganisms, and disease are even cured with the help of these microorganisms. So, for medicine production, again, these microorganisms are very helpful. How come these microorganisms are so helpful? How come they help us? Like taking a small example of one of the medicine which is very widely used, very widely produced, that is antibiotics. Yes, this is antibiotics. So antibiotics, I think most of us have consumed antibiotics in some or the other time of our life span. We might have fallen ill and the doctor has given you antibiotics for different purposes. Specifically, as the name suggests, if you try to split it, if you try to break it, A-N-T-I, anti means against, and biotics is for bacterias, those biotic organisms. So antibiotics are those substances, those medicines which acts against bacterias. Yes. And what is the irony? The thing is, these antibiotics which are formed out of bacteria, they kill the other bacteria which is present in your body. So microscopic organisms are even useful for curing us from different diseases which is caused by different types of bacteria. So for the production of antibiotics, chiefly bacteria and fungi are used in laboratories. There is a complex process which involves culture of these bacteria and fungi. They undergo different chemical processes and finally we get the antibiotics. Remember, anti means against and biotics is bacteria. So anything which acts against bacteria is an antibiotic. So chiefly antibiotics are obtained from, as I have said, bacteria and fungi, and here I have given you few names of antibiotics which you need to remember to write it in your exams, because this is the most favorite question of your school teachers, and you most of the time get this question that mention a few antibiotics which is widely used. So I have given only a few common antibiotics. These are very easy to memorize. Like first is penicillin. If you pronounce it correctly, you get the damn correct spelling. So the first antibiotic is penicillin. The second antibiotic is streptomycin. Okay, it is streptomycin. Third antibiotic is tetracycline. I'm sorry, it is tetracycline. Third antibiotic. Fourth antibiotic, erythromycin. If you pronounce it, erythromycin. Spelling is very easy. Just pronounce it correctly. So you need to memorize these names. Okay. And what does antibiotic do? They kill the bacteria present in your body. And why are we talking about antibiotics here? Because these antibiotics, these medicines are manufactured, are made out of bacteria itself. Okay? A few quick points about these antibiotics. Okay? These are to be used. These antibiotics are used by humans, by us. When we fall ill, doctor gives us antibiotics and we recover well. These are even used by livestock. What do you mean by livestock? Livestock are the domesticated animals which are used for getting different products for our day-to-day needs, right? Like cows, buffaloes, the cattles what you have, or the poultry animals. Okay? They are the livestock. So humans, they use antibiotics. Livestock are actually they are given antibiotics in a preventive measure. Okay? Like in their food, the antibiotic is actually added up, they consume it so that they develop immunity. Although we don't follow such procedure, but for antibiotics which are meant for these poultry animals, they undergo this process. So livestock, they also consume, they also take antibiotics to recover and for preventive measures, of course. And the plants, chiefly plants, as if the crops which are cultivated. At times you might have heard in different newspapers also that the plants which are growing, they have the plants which are growing, they have got a disease, being it a bacterial disease, or they could be a fungal disease. Okay, so those diseases can be cured, can be taken care of by few antibiotics which could be added. Okay, so as I was saying, these plants, the crops which are grown into the field, they are being given antibiotics in order to protect them or in order to even cure them from different diseases which are caused by microorganisms. So antibiotics are even helpful in plants. We will talk about the different plant diseases and animal diseases and human diseases later on in this chapter. So talking about antibiotics, they are useful for humans, for livestock, that is your cattle and poultry animals, and even for plants. Next, a quick term for the antibiotics. They should only be taken on advice of doctors. This is the most important thing. Heard about antibiotic resistance? This is a phenomena which is actually very, very dangerous. Over here in India, we get antibiotics over the counter. That is, generally we don't require a prescription to get any kind of antibiotics, and we are at a very bad habit of consuming antibiotics and not finishing its course. हम डॉक्टर के पास गए, we were ill, doctor has prescribed us antibiotic for 5 days and we got recovered within 3 days. तो हमको लगा कि आगे 2 दिन तो we don't need to consume antibiotics. So we have stopped consuming antibiotics 2 days before on our own without the advice of doctor. This is very harmful. Why I am telling you that antibiotics should only be consumed on advice of doctors, and you must finish the course of antibiotics, that is for the duration for which the antibiotic has been given to you. This is because when you inappropriately consume antibiotics, being it finishing up before the ending of the course or taking it up randomly here and there as and when you need, that causes antibiotic resistance in your body. That is, the bacteria which has affected you will grow a resistance, will be used to it, and later on in life when you will consume that specific antibiotic again, that may not function in your body, because your body and that specific species of bacteria are gradually getting resistant towards that particular medicine. So you need to be very specific on consuming antibiotics, because this antibiotic resistance is very dangerous. Once you get antibiotic resistance, at times it will be very, very hazardous, or it can even be fatal, because antibiotics won't work in your body and it will be very difficult to cure you. So antibiotics should always be taken on advice of doctors. I hope we are good till here. So we have discussed the 5 points, the 5 different benefits we are obtaining already from these microscopic organisms. Moving further, the 6th benefit, again very important one, which is vaccine. Vaccine. Again, this is quite a familiar term, vaccine. We all have been vaccinated when we were babies, and we still do get vaccinations like vaccine for tetanus, etc. during our lifespans. So vaccines are very much required and they are very much helpful. But what are these vaccines actually? Let's talk about vaccine. Vaccine is a substance which, when introduced into your body, it increases the immunity of your body. Vaccine increases the immunity of your body. How does it increases immunity of our body? See, vaccine formation we can discuss over here to explain you how does vaccine works. Let's say, taking example of polio vaccine. Okay? Actually, that polio drop which is given to you, which we have consumed when we were younger, when we are below 5 years of age, those polio vaccine actually contained partially, what I should say, like partially denuted won't be a good term for you to understand. These polio vaccines, they contain partially dead virus. ये समझ में आ रहा होगा. The virus might be partially dead or completely dead into the drops which is given to you. Generally, polio vaccine में जो दिया जाता है, the virus is dead. Few other vaccines of different diseases, over there the virus or the bacteria, they are partially dead. Okay? So when these partially dead or completely dead virus or bacteria or any other microorganism is introduced in your body deliberately, जानबूझ के डाला जा रहा है ना, पोलियो वैक्सीन दे रहे हैं तब आप जानबूझ के दे रहे हैं पेशेंट को, that virus, although that virus is dead, but you are giving that virus deliberately to that individual. Why are we doing this? When this dead virus or partially dead virus enters our body has a very strong defense system. जैसे इंडिया का defense system है, Air Force, Navy and Army. Similarly, our body also has a defense system which is known as immune system. And this immune system has soldiers which is known as antibodies. Okay? So, our body has a defense system which is known as immune system, and this immune system has different soldiers, different categories of soldiers which is known as antibodies. Now, when this partially dead or completely dead microorganism is entering your body, specifically this immune system, will very quickly scan this virus or bacteria, whatever it is. Okay? Remember, this is dead, or this has almost lost its all power. So it is not causing you disease anymore. So anyway, your immune system will start scanning this particular organism, that कौन से guest आए हैं ये unwanted guest हमारी body में, and quickly they'll start forming appropriate antibody. For each and every virus and bacteria, there is a different category of antibodies. So when your immune system analyzes that particular bacteria or particular virus or particular protozoa, it develops specific antibodies. Uske against में it forms soldiers, and those antibody throws away that weakened virus or that dead virus out of your body. Kills it completely, destroys it completely, and we recover. Yes, this is the process of vaccination. Okay? Now what happens in future if you again accidentally come across a healthy virus or a healthy bacteria of that specific category, being it polio. After you are vaccinated with polio, Next time in life, if you happen to come across a poliovirus, or poliovirus आपकी body में enter करता है, and now that poliovirus is a full-fledged poliovirus, which is very strong, capable of causing disease. But what your body has the antibodies for polio already. Why? Because you have been vaccinated. Remember, आपकी body में weak poliovirus डाला गया था through polio vaccine to form the antibodies against polio. This is the process of vaccination. Now, when a healthy poliovirus enters your body, the antibodies against polio are already there in your body. They will fight with the poliovirus, they will finish the poliovirus and throw it out, and you will never ever catch polio throughout your life. This is the theory of vaccination. So now I hope you're getting the clue how come microorganisms are helping us in forming vaccine. Yes, we are using microorganisms by killing them or by weakening them and introducing in our body so that our immune system becomes stronger. Yes, this is the concept of vaccine. Now, when we talk about vaccine, there are a few diseases which has vaccine, which we have developed vaccines, and the examples of these diseases are cholera, TB, smallpox, hepatitis, polio. Again guys, you need to remember the names of the diseases which has vaccines, okay? Because it becomes very easy. When you have vaccine, you don't have to wait ki when you will fall ill, you will be treated, you may recover, you may not recover. So vaccine is a wonderful thing, okay? For mankind, for our immunity. This was the 6th benefit. See how many benefits we are having from microorganisms. Generally, the picture what we have in our mind is microorganisms are not at all good, they generally cause disease. But this is so not true. Yes? So we already had 6 benefits. Now we are moving to our 7th benefit. That is increasing soil fertility. We have talked just now about nitrogen fixation, right? In our 3rd statement, the same phenomena has been elaborated here. That is, they increase the fertility of the soil. That is, the capacity of the soil of holding more plants and different types of plants. Okay? How? By enhancing the nutrient content present in the soil. So, the soil fertility is enhanced by certain bacteria, chiefly rhizobium bacteria and blue-green algae. This is a specific species of algae, okay, which is capable of trapping free nitrogen, hence performing biological, hence these rhizobium bacteria are known as biological nitrogen fixers. Biological means natural, biological living, nitrogen fixers, free nitrogen को fix करते हैं, hence they are biological nitrogen fixers. Okay, this was your G, that is 7th point of benefits we are getting from microorganisms. Now we are moving to the 8th point, that is cleaning the environment. Okay, cleaning the environment. So when you're actually trying to elaborate this specific point, that is cleaning the environment. So cleaning the environment is done by the microorganisms. Cleaning, as if I am not referring over here the cleaning term as if we do it in our home by dusting away and throwing away the garbage away. No. Cleaning the environment means all the things, specifically the natural things. You can term it as organic. Okay? The things which are organic means things which are natural. Things which are natural. They are they can undergo the process of decomposition. Just now we have discussed decomposers and decomposition. So, the organic things, the natural things like paper, like vegetable peels, like different parts of plants which are thrown away, etc. Dead decaying animals, rotten food, etc. When these are thrown out, when these are lying away in the ground, these articles are broken down from their complex molecules into simple molecules and mixed back to the soil by the process of decomposition by decomposers. Who is performing the task is decomposer, and the function, the process is known as decomposition. So, by the process of decomposition, the environment, the waste from the environment, specifically only the organic waste. Plastic cannot undergo the process of decomposition. Okay? Why? Because plastic is not natural, it is not organic. Yeah? So, for cleaning up the environment, that is degrading or taking away useless things from the environment. The paper what you have thrown away, which is of no use for you, if it keeps on lying there on the road, just imagine the amount of heap of garbage we will accumulate. है ना? The useless things what you are throwing out, those useless things has to be removed by some or the other objects or the organisms in the nature. Otherwise, they will be piling up of things. Just imagine if the potato peel, aloo ka chilka, what you are throwing out, if it do not decomposes, it do not undergoes the process of decomposition, then there will be heaps of potato peels into this planet. So can you imagine what would be the scenario? That is just one small example. So, microorganisms as decomposers play a very important role in cleaning the environment. Okay? And by forming manure. This manure is again very important, very useful, and a gift of nature for us. What is this manure? This manure is actually a decomposed, partially decomposed substances of organic things, which is sprinkled into the field, and it enhances the soil fertility. How manure is prepared? Just let me explain you once. You just need to dig a pit, एक गड्ढा खोदना है, ठीक है? And you need to put in different natural things which are waste for you, like vegetable peels, ठीक है? सब्जियों के छिलके, fruit peels, okay? Paper, could be wood, parts of plants, etc. Okay? Even could be natural fabric, cotton and all. But the only thing which you need to keep in your mind is it should be only natural. Okay? It should be only natural and not a artificial thing. Like आप plastic नहीं डाल सकते, आप glass नहीं डाल सकते. These are not natural, right? So, for the formation of manure, you need to dig a pit, put in all the organic components into it. ठीक है? उस गड्ढे में जितना भी कचड़ा है, that कचड़ा needs to be thrown into that pit. That pit needs to be covered with a layer of soil. Okay? And leave that pit for a month. What will happen to that waste products what you have poured into that pit? Those waste products will undergo the process of, where it is, decomposition by the decomposers. Okay? Those waste products will undergo the process of decomposition, and that decomposition process will actually break down those complex big parts, those complex molecules into smaller molecules. Okay? Then later on, after a month, when you will just take out those partially decomposed content from that pit, that is actually manure. that is manure. Now that manure is awesome food for plants. That manure is so much nutritious for the plants. Okay, so that manure can be sprinkled throughout the field and your plants will get lots and lots of nourishment from that manure. So I hope till here it is okay. Yeah, so till here we have discussed about different phases, different types, different benefits you are getting from microorganisms. Okay, so these were the benefits which we are obtaining from microorganisms. Next topic we are talking about is harmful microbes. Okay, the next subtopic into this chapter is the harm these microbes are causing us or are capable of causing us. So the harmful microbes or the harmful effects which these microbes can cause to us and to our world. The first type of harmful microbe is a pathogen. Now defining this pathogen, pathogen is a organism, is a microorganism which is capable of causing disease. Again, I am repeating, pathogen is a microorganism which is capable of causing disease. Okay? All microorganisms do not cause disease. We have just now seen. There were so many benefits from different microorganisms. But those group of microorganisms which are capable of causing disease to us, to animals, to plants, they are pathogens. Okay? They are termed as pathogens. And pathogens, as you know, they cause different diseases. You can just name it. It is malaria, dengue, viral fever, tuberculosis. Okay? So many diseases, cholera, diarrhea, dysentery, food poisoning, etc. They are all caused because of pathogens. Okay? Next, the harmful effect what we get from microorganism is these microorganisms, they also spoil food. Spoil food as in these summer days, it's a very common phenomena. Like if you do not keep your cooked food after 3 to 4 hours or probably 5 hours at the most inside a refrigerator, you start getting a smell, a very pungent smell from that food. What is that smell? That smell indicates that that food has been attacked by the microorganism. And where has that microorganism come from? That microorganism was actually present in the air, in your surroundings, which have gradually started acting into that food. If you would have placed that food inside a fridge, that microorganism won't reach your food and your food would remain fresh throughout the day. So the microorganisms, a number of microorganisms present in the surrounding, present in the air, are capable of actually spoiling your food, damaging your food. Okay, that is, they start growing, they start their activities into that food. And when microorganisms, being it fungi or bacteria, these two group chiefly attacks your food. So when these organisms, they start attacking your food and we term it as a spoiled food, we cannot consume this food. Why? Because this food is containing fungus and different bacteria which are harmful for our body. Okay? So the microorganism, they can spoil food. Next, microorganism, they can even spoil fabrics, specifically natural fabrics. Very old clothes, specifically of cotton or silk, if kept untouched for many years or months, etc., you can find black spots into it, which is a fungal infection. Okay? So yeah, microorganisms can also damage natural fabrics or even leather. The most common infection which is found in leather is the fungal infection. You can keep a leather product dammed into the moisture After a few days, you'll see those black and white spots into your leather garment or into your footwear. Okay, so this leather product is to be kept safe from these microorganisms present in the environment. Before proceeding, this second topic, we were talking about the microorganisms. They are capable of spoiling our food. They are capable of spoiling our fabric, our leather products. What are they actually doing? They are not intentionally spoiling your articles. What they're actually doing is they're actually growing into those articles. These microorganisms, again, chiefly bacteria and fungi, they start to grow, they start to cultivate, they start to carry out their reproductive activity as and when they find a favorable environment. And these articles, food, fabric, leather, when they are laden up with moisture content, when they have moisture, these microorganisms, they find a good base. Moisture is anyway very good for the growth of bacteria as well as for fungus, and they will get different amount of nutrition from these contents also. So they start growing over there. Hence, as a result, your article gets spoiled. Okay, so unintentionally they are spoiling it up. Okay, they are actually looking after their own work, but we are at a loss. This is the second point. I hope this is clear. Talking about the third point, this is disease causing microbes in humans. As we all know, we human beings undergo a lot of complex diseases which are caused by different organisms, microorganisms to be precise. Okay, being it bacteria, being it virus, being it fungus, being it protozoa, so many things. Okay, so there are different diseases which are caused by different microorganisms to humans. Few of them I have listed here for you, like specifically talking about their transmission. The diseases I'll tell you, but before that, transmission. Transmission is the mode by which that microorganism enters our body. See, we don't have the bacteria for diarrhea or the virus of influenza already in our body. They enter our body somehow. You know? So this process by which these microorganisms, they enter our body, this mode is known as transmission. Okay? And these microorganisms are transmitted into our body by chiefly these pathways. That is, they can enter our body through air when we inhale air. So the microorganism present in the air can get inside our body, okay, can get inside our lungs and may cause us different diseases. So when you are actually sitting with an infected person, take care, and when he speaks or sneezes, and when you are actually in a very close contact and when you are inhaling it up, so you are inhaling the pathogen from his body, from his air into your nostrils, and you will catch that particular microorganism and fall ill. So microorganism can enter our body through air, or it can also enter our body through water, specifically contaminated water. Contaminated water means the water which is infected, okay, the water which is infected, the water which is not hygienic, which hasn't been filtered, okay. Like there are so many diseases which are food and waterborne, like typhoid, okay. If the article contains the Salmonella typhi bacteria, the water contains that specific bacteria, you may catch typhoid, okay. So contaminated water gives you the microorganism, okay. So the microorganism can also enter our body through water. Next, through food. Through food I mean again contaminated food. The street food which we all are fond of, but something which you need to be very careful about is that street food should be hygienic. Okay, that street food has to be very hygienic. Otherwise, there are a lot of mosquitoes, flies, dirt, dust coming and settling over the food which is sold by those vendors, and when you consume those food articles, you fall ill. Okay, so pathogens, I'll be now using the term pathogen because I've already explained you who are pathogen. Pathogens are those microorganisms which are capable of causing disease. So instead of microorganisms, now I'll speak about pathogens. Okay? So pathogens can also enter our body through food. And next is through direct contact. There are few diseases which can enter our body through direct contact. That is, when you when you actually are in physical contact with another infected individual, you get in that particular disease inside your body. Okay? So these are the 4 chief modes of transmission by which the pathogens can enter your body, and those modes are air, water, food, or direct contact. Okay? Next, talking about communicable disease. Communicable disease. Communicable diseases are those diseases which can spread from a healthy person, from an infected person to a healthy person. Okay, I'm repeating it again. Communicable diseases are those diseases which can spread from an infected person to a healthy person. Okay, let's say you're sitting with your friend who is having a cough and cold. Okay, he or she is affected with the influenza virus and he or she is having cough and cold. And if that person sneezes or coughs sitting beside you and you happen to touch those droplets, okay, when that person sneezes, so the droplets are spread nearby that person's circumference, and if you happen to touch that particular bed or that desk, or you use his towel or handkerchief with your hand and you accidentally again touch your eyes, nose or your mouth, that virus, that pathogen will enter your body and you will also fall ill. So this is how communicable disease communicates. See, communicable, the name itself gives a clue. Communicable, which can communicate, okay, which can link up. So linking, how the linking is formed? From an infected person to a healthy person. Okay? Diseases, they can spread from an infected person to a healthy person is communicable disease. Okay? And few examples of these communicable disease. Communicable diseases, they are again transmitted by these 4 ways. Okay? Air, water, etc. So communicable diseases, few examples are like common cold, chickenpox, tuberculosis, etc. These are the diseases which can spread from an infected individual to a healthy individual. Okay, got it? Clear? Quickly taking up one more small point of non-communicable diseases. As diseases can be communicable, they can even be non-communicable. Non-communicable means the diseases which do not spread from an infected person to a healthy person. Okay? For example, if I am infected and you are near my surrounding, you won't be infected, you won't be affected. Okay? That is non-communicable disease. So diseases are chiefly caused by microorganisms, again pathogens. Okay? They can be of 2 categories, communicable diseases or non-communicable diseases. So communicable diseases which spreads from an infected individual to a healthy individual, and non-communicable diseases which do not spread from an infected individual to a healthy individual. Okay? So in the next lecture we are going to talk about non-communicable diseases and other harmful effects of microorganisms in detail. Okay? Thank you.